What do you think is the most prevalent, biggest single problem facing people in America today? Well, you've heard it said that there are two things that are inevitable in life, death and taxes, but today we know there's one more, and it's change. Change is the greatest single issue affecting yours and my life, and will be for the rest of our time on this earth. Let me give you three predictions that come out of Harvard University with regard to change. Prediction number one, in your field, whatever your field is, there will be more change in the coming year than ever before. Number two, there'll be more competition in your field than ever before, and the competition will become more and more determined. And number three, there will be more opportunities in your field than ever before, but the opportunities will be different from the past. You know, the most important single thing that happens in life is the ability to spot trends and to be aware of changes and where the changes are going. In a recent Fortune magazine article on why companies fail, they said one of the major reasons for failure is the failure to anticipate how changes are going to affect their business and to go on doing things the same way. Now here's one extra prediction, and that is this: 72% of people working today will be out of their current jobs 1 year from now if they don't adapt to the rapid pace of change, competition, and opportunity. They'll be doing something else.
Here's another truth about you. You can learn anything you need to learn to achieve any goal you can set for yourself. Now, my friend Les Brown says, to achieve something you've never achieved before, you must become someone you've never been before. And I say you have to learn something you've never learned before. But the wonderful thing is, the more you learn, the more you can learn, is that every person has enormous untapped reserves of intelligence. So you can learn any subject. You could learn how to be a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, an architect, an engineer. You could learn how to do anything. The only thing that stands between us and great success is simply learning how to do things better and different. And the more you learn, the smarter you get. The smarter you get, the more you can learn.
Today, the major value in our society is time and knowledge. For all of human history, value has been contained in land, furniture, fixtures, capital, labor, raw materials, factories, plants, and so on. Today, a factory can be rendered obsolete in a year by new technology. Today, an entire area can become economically distraught by the moving out of an industry or the collapse of a basic resource. Today, value is time and knowledge. Knowledge means the ability to know how to do things and get things done, and time means to apply that information in a timely fashion. All of your value today is between your ears. Do you know what this means? It means that your entire industry could collapse, your company could move away, your job could disappear, and probably will, but it's what you have between your ears that more than anything else is going to determine what you accomplish with your life. Now here's a rule for you, and I want you to write this down, and I want you to teach your children, and I want you to practice it and keep it as part of your life. It is this: the future belongs to the competent. The future belongs to the competent. The future is not shared by the competent so much, it belongs to the competent. It was Abraham Lincoln who said that the only security a person can ever have is the ability to do a job uncommonly well. The future belongs to those who are good at what they do. The future doesn't belong to people who are average or mediocre at what they do. It belongs to people who are in the top 10% of their field. As a knowledge worker, you have to understand that we were brought up in an age, and the age was where you got out of school, you got a good job. In fact, we were brought up in an age in the 50s where you could get a highly paid job being low skill and no skill. You didn't even have to have a good education. So the education system stopped teaching people because they could get good jobs. Even in the 60s, you could start work as a blue-collar worker without even a high school certificate and get a higher wage in a unionized factory than you could with a 4-year college degree. Today, however, it's gone forever. The disparity between those with high school educations and those with college is now 30 to 50%. The disparity between those with college educations and further educations is another 30 to 50%. In the next couple of years, the income level will be double, and then it will be triple. In America, we say today, what is happening is that the average wage is declining. No, that's not true. The average wage amongst those people who have no skills, low skills, and who cannot read is going down or staying fixed. But the average income amongst those people whose income is higher and who are continually developing their knowledge and skills is going up every year. The fact is that the top 20% are not making enough more faster in order to offset the declining wages of the bottom 80%. Your question is, what group do you want to be a part of? And you really have no choice. Imagine that we have a pool of water. And here's the pool of water, and it's filled with fish. And these fish swim around, and they live off the sustenance that's in the water today. All right? But then we have a drought. And the drought comes along, and what happens with the drought was the water level is reduced. Let me use a different colored pen here. We have a smaller water level, so we have less water in the lake than we had before. Now notice what has happened here is we have the same number of fish, and they're just as hungry as they always were, and they now have to swim in a smaller body of water and get the same amount of sustenance as before. This is very much a picture of our national, regional, international, global economy, is that we have more and more competition because we have more and more fish in a smaller body of water competing for the same level of sustenance. Your job is to become more and more effective competing in a far more competitive environment than has ever existed before. The average person today, because of the speed of change, believe it or not, is making more decisions in a month than their grandparents made in a lifetime. More major life-forming decisions are made in a month, in many cases, than your grandparents made in a lifetime. When your grandparents came out of school, it was just understood. You got some basic training, either college or apprenticeship. You went to work for a large company. You worked for that company for the rest of your life. Today, those days are gone forever. Today, the rate of change is the most powerful single circumstance in our life. And I say that basically the race is on. It's not a matter of whether or not you like the race. It's sort of like a law of gravity. It doesn't matter what you think about it. If you step off a 10-story building, you're going to go splat on the sidewalk, whether you believe in gravity or know about gravity, or whether gravity is particularly convenient for you. Today, the rate of change is not only accelerating, it's getting faster and faster, but it is also discontinuous in that it is breaking up and it's coming from different directions. And people can be going along doing what they're doing for a long period of time, and something will come out of left field and just knock us off the map. So what is your goal? Your goal is to get into the top 10%. Your goal is to be one of the best. Your goal is to join the top 10%. And here's something that's important. Whenever we say this, people say, well, gee, you know, the top people in my field, they're so successful, they're doing so well. Let me tell you, the person who is in the top 10% in your field was once in the bottom 10%. The person who is in the top 10% in your field is not better than you. They have just done more of the right things in the right way, and they've gotten a little bit further ahead, a little bit faster. But here's the rule. It's this. Imagine that it is a journey, and the journey starts at 0, and it reaches here, and this is 100. This is the top 10% right here. Well, everybody in your field is on this journey somewhere. And some people are back here, and they're just starting. And some people are here, and they're along the way. Some people are here, and they're in the top 10%. You're here somewhere on this journey. Now, all you have to do to get to where you want to go, and please appreciate this, because I started so far down, I had to look up to see bottom. Please appreciate this, is that all you have to do is put one step in front of the other, and you must eventually achieve your goal. All you have to do is study what the top 10% of people do and do the same things. All you have to do is continuously learn and practice, and as sure as God made little green apples, by putting one step in front of the other, you must get into the top 10%, as long as you set that as your goal. And I have given this advice to thousands of people, and I can tell you, it's an astonishing thing. People think that people who are at the top of their field come from heaven with incredible talents and abilities. No, they're just people who decided to get there. Now, I work with many of the best people in many fields, and here's the turning point. In every case, when a man or a woman goes to the top, it is after they make a decision to go to the top. After they make a decision that, by gum, I am going to do whatever it takes, and I'm going to work as long as it takes to be the best. I am going to put in the hours. I'm going to shut off the television. I'm going to close down the newspaper. I'm going to stop socializing and wasting time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to keep at it, and I'm going to keep at it, and I'm going to keep at it until I accomplish it. And if you make that decision, I'll tell you what will happen, is that you'll run into a lot of rough weather. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have a lot of disappointments. You're going to fall back several times. In fact, we say that life is a history or a process of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And every time you feel you've made some progress, for a while, somebody else will make more progress than you. But if you keep at it and keep at it, you will ultimately get into the top 10%. If you keep at it for a week, a month, a year, you'll do it. And you know what will happen then? People will turn around and say, well, you sure were lucky. You were just at the right place and the right time. No, it's not being right place and the right time. Every person I've ever met who's at the top of their field made a decision. And from that point onward, they set a goal and they made a plan and they went to work and they kept at it and they kept at it and they persisted until they got to the top of their field. What happened over the course of human history is that it took us several thousand years of evolution, going back thousands and thousands of years, where we went through the nomadic age into the agricultural age. For several thousand years, what we did is we basically farmed. Now, in about 1776, with the development of the steam engine, we moved into the industrial age. Now, the industrial age was considered to be the most remarkable age in the history of man. It led to incredible urbanization, incredible, eventually unionization. It led to the development of modern countries and modern societies, the development of modern cities. But in less than 200 years, we moved out of the industrial age into the service age after World War II. And this is, by the way, determined by the number of people who are working in this area. We went from having a majority of industrial workers, 33% of the population, to a majority of service workers. Now, in the 70s, we passed into the information age. Now, the information age, we suddenly had more people working processing information than we had had in actual industrial or service. And now we have moved into the communications age. The communications age is we now have more people who are involved in communicating ideas and information in some way than we have doing anything else. The amount of industrial workers is down to about 18.1 million workers, but the industrial production of America is greater than it's ever been before. Why? Just because it takes fewer people to produce even more goods than ever before. At the turn of the century, 54% of Americans lived on the farm. Today, 3% live on the farm, and of those, only a small number of them are really running large professional farms. It's been said that a man or a woman could walk up to customs at New York's Kennedy Airport with the ability to create $1 billion computer industry in their mind and go up to the customs officer with no baggage and say, nothing to declare. Nothing to declare. Do you know what that means? It means today all value is brain power. Do you know that by the year 2000, fully 80% of people who are working today will be knowledge workers? There will be people who work with their brains. There will be people who think and have used their ability to determine what to do and how best to do it in order to make a living. Let me give you an example. If you own a company, all the assets of your company today go home at 5 o'clock every night. They walk out. The great value of your company is the people who know how to do things. In fact, if your entire company burned to the ground, you could walk across the street and start up again as long as your people were okay. So brain power is the critical factor. Knowledge today, according to our statistics, knowledge is doubling every 2 to 3 years. Knowledge is doubling in your field. What does that mean? It means if your knowledge isn't doubling every 2 to 3 years in your field, you're in serious trouble. Do you know what we know? That an engineer who comes out of school today, 5 years later, is becoming obsolete. 10 years later, can be totally replaced by a brand new engineer, because the brand new engineer is learning technology and skills that the engineer who graduated 10 years before simply doesn't have at all. So therefore, if the young engineer is not constantly keeping up with his skills, after 10 years of experience, he can be obsoleted out and replaced by someone with 1 year's worth of experience who's got a fresh education. In every field, we know this. We know that knowledge becomes obsolete. If you're a historian studying world history, your knowledge becomes obsolete at the rate of maybe 5% a year. If you're in the stock market selling stocks and bonds, your knowledge can become obsolete in a matter of a few days. If in many industries today, if you were to take a sabbatical and go away for a week or two, or I'm sorry, for a year or two, when you came back, you'd have to start off way, way down the ladder, because most of the knowledge you went away with would be irrelevant when you got back. What does this dictate to you and I? It means that we must be continually taking in new information. We must be continually sharpening and upgrading our skills, or what is happening is the rest of the world will pass around us. Now, we know this about products and services. And we know this is that products and services are becoming obsolete at a faster rate than ever possible. What does it mean? It means that it used to be that you came out with a new product or service that lasted 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You know what happens today? Is the average product that comes onto the shelves will be obsolete in 6 months. The average computer being put onto the shelves today, brand new, state-of-the-art, will be obsolete in 4 months. What does we mean by obsolete? It means it'll be replaced by something better, faster, cheaper, newer, by some other competitor. Fully 90% of all the thinkers, all the inventors, all the creators, all the scientists, all the engineers, all the marketers, all the technologists, all the people who think up new products and processes and services and so on, all of these people are working today, and because of this, they're competing more and more vigorously, and the instant they complete a product, they look for a way to obsolete their own product, and they're looking at this very moment to find a way to obsolete you and your product and your service and your business and your company and your industry and to take it away from you. The only way that you can deal with this is not to be upset about it, but to realize you're going to have to roll with it. You're going to have to find a way to make things up faster, sharper, newer. And here's the most wonderful thing. The more progress you make in the direction of achieving your goal, the more positive you feel, the happier you feel. The more progress you make, the more motivated you become, the more inspired, the more excited you become, and the more drive, determination, and persistence you have to keep on keeping on until you achieve it. A little bit of success gives you an appetite for a little bit more success, and then a little bit more success, and then a little bit more success. So set the goal, and then put one foot in front of the other until you accomplish it. The result of change today is stress. This is the major factor that you and I are experiencing today, stress and anxiety. Where do we get this stress and anxiety? Where do we see it? We see we eat too much, we drink too much, we sleep too much, we get more and more irritable, faster, we get angrier. We have more psychosomatic illnesses today than ever before. We have 50 billion pounds of extra weight on the average American. We have more accidents, we have people killing each other, we have higher levels of crime. This stress and anxiety is caused because we feel like we're falling through space. The stress is such that we feel that we're losing control of our own lives. And this is the key to what we want to talk about in this fact that the race is on in change. And it is this, is that the way that we deal with the stress and anxiety that is involved with change is through control and confidence. Now, control and confidence are almost like the flip sides of the same coin. If you have one, you have the other. If you have the other, you have the one. Psychologists will tell you today that there is such an animal as a sense of control. A sense of control simply means this. It means that you feel good about yourself to the degree to which you feel you are in control of your own life. You feel bad about yourself or negative to the degree to which you feel you are not in control. What does it mean? It means if you look at your life, if you look around your life, you'll find that the parts of your life that cause you the greatest amount of anxiety, that cause you to be preoccupied, that make you angry, that cause you to think about them and talk about them, are the areas where you feel you are controlled by something that someone else is doing or not doing to or for you. In fact, one of the great responsibilities of adult life is to look for ways that you can get more control over the key parts of your life. What are some of the things that you can do? We know, by the way, philosophically with regard to control, that one of the ways that we get more control is we put hands on. The other way that we get control is that we take hands off and walk away. Sometimes walking away from a bad situation is the very best way to get control. But a sense of control is the absolute prerequisite for you to be successful and happy. You have to feel you're in control of your own life. You're the master of your own destiny. You're in charge of what happens to you. You make your own decisions. You have to feel in control. And this rapid rate of change, which seems to be going faster and faster, is causing us to feel out of control, and we've got to reach out and grab control. So those are the three. The biggest single problem is change. The biggest and most negative effect of change is stress and anxiety. The way to get over stress and anxiety is to be clear with your regard to your values, your vision, and your goals. It's to commit yourself to becoming excellent at what you do, and it's to continuously learn and grow.